to really have an impact, to really innovate, you need these interdisciplinary teams to start working together on the bigger questions and the bigger issues that we have, instead of just going deeper into your own silos.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of School to Startup. I'm Ankita Bhosle from University Partnership Team at Tracxn. Tracxn has been supporting a global startup ecosystem for over a decade as a leading platform for private market intelligence. We work closely with universities that encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. School to Startup is one of our key initiatives where we highlight academic leaders who are helping shape the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Today, we are delighted to welcome Bert Verhoeven, a senior lecturer and director of innovation and entrepreneurship at Newcastle Business School. Good to have you here, Bert.
Thank you, Ankita. Happy to be here.
So my first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? How has been your experience so far?
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Netherlands and lived there for my first 40 years of my life. And in that time, I never had a job. That means I've always had my own business, and that gave me a real good foundation for teaching entrepreneurship and innovation later on in my life. So I think in entrepreneurship and innovation, it is very important to have your own experience to understand what it means to do a startup and what you go through and the uncertainties which you need to deal with and the mindset and the skills that you need to have to be able to be successful. And so I think that's what I did in the first half of my year, and then I moved to Australia and then got into academics somehow because my startup failed that I did in Australia. And since then, I've enjoyed working in academics. I was in Swinburne University at Melbourne, and then I moved to Adelaide, to Flinders University, and now I'm in the University of Newcastle, which is 2 hours north of Sydney.
So that's a really interesting journey, and I think since you already have an experience with your own startup, that kind of builds your currently what the things that you're working along is closely with entrepreneurship. So that really makes a lot of sense. What are some of the most exciting projects or research initiatives that you currently work on? Anything that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, so there's really two focus points that we're working on, and one at the University of Newcastle. One of them we call the Innovation Entrepreneurship Academy, and what that does is we're looking at interdisciplinary research and education. I think this day and age requires you to look across your disciplines, and so to work with, and it's always been the case that you work with somebody from computer science or marketing, and then and put an engineer in there, and you have a great team. And that is, I guess, what startups have known for a long time, is what universities are starting to find out now, is that to really have an impact, to really innovate, you need these interdisciplinary teams to start working together on the bigger questions and the bigger issues that we have, instead of just going deeper into your own silos, which is important. It's still important to do that fundamental kind of research, but at the same time, I think it's to have impact, you need to also look across your domains. And that's where one of the things I'm working on, and I do that with three things. So what I'm saying is that the INE Academy can facilitate that kind of innovation by offering entrepreneurial competencies and skills, by using design science, which is a methodology which looks a lot like a startup in a way. It's very much build, measure, learn. It's very much problem driven, but it's an scientific methodology, so you can publish in scientific papers with it. And the third thing is generative AI, which I will talk about later.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that was a really interesting point that you raised, that when you're working towards innovation or entrepreneurship, the first thing is that working outside your domain is also very important. And academia is one bridging entity that brings everyone together and sort of everyone grows together within that space. What are the kind of trends that you have observed in the startup ecosystem that students should be paying attention to? And And how is academia responding to these trends through initiatives that build entrepreneurial mindsets?
Yeah. So the big trend is AI. Obviously, artificial intelligence is changing everything, and we said 3 years ago. So just after ChatGPT 3.5 came out, we said we make this a mandatory tool to use for our students. So not an option. You have to use AI, and that means that all of a sudden things change dramatically, and the teaching that we do is very different now than what it used to be, because we all know AI can do really good reports, they can do business plans, they can do business models, they can do anything that is on paper essay style work or model style. It's very good at, and so to understand how students are learning, we had to look at also the how students produce something, so the process of that, and also how students develop as a person. And I think that's what you do in a startup as well. You're not just looking at the output, but you also look at the ways how to get there. That's your business plan in a way, right? And then you have also your personal development as an entrepreneur. And I think that's where entrepreneurial mindset comes in, and things like effectuation and theories like that, where you learn how entrepreneurs do that, how they go through a process of creating something new that has value, which is really difficult to do. And so in AI, it fits well with entrepreneurship education, and that's what we have applied. And because I've done that, and now we've got experience with thousands of students going through that, we've learned a lot about how to assess it and how to do the learning. And I'm speaking all around the world. I've just come back from Hong Kong, talking there to a quality assurance organization for universities there. I've been to Oxford University. I was in Copenhagen, and that's only in the past 3 months. So I speak all around over that because we learn by doing, and that's what startups do too. Yeah. So if you really need to innovate something, you can't. It's very difficult to theorize that, because it's just something in the future which is difficult to understand. And so what we're saying is, because we're doing it and we're reporting on that, and we do build and we measure and then we improve, because of that, we find ways to work and learn with AI. And yeah, that is very exciting. And you see that in my startups as well. So my students, they use AI for everything because they have to, but they do now as well with a lot of fun. And they use agents, they use tools, any tool that you can think of. They're using, they're creating websites, apps with Lovable. You make them very quickly, and other tools too. So it's an exciting time to be in innovation and entrepreneurship, and it's an exciting time to be a startup as well, because everything goes so much faster. But it also means that you need to perform better, right? And maybe in the past you had more time as a startup to get used to things and to learn and to slowly build. That's much more difficult now, because everybody else moves at a super fast pace. And so instead of playing your local league, right, you play the Champions League all of a sudden, and you have to adapt to that kind of pace. And that is a step up for most startups. So yeah, there's still a lot of learning and training to be done for that, I guess, to become really good at doing a startup. And that's what we do in our INE Academy.
Yeah, now that's really true. And I think AI has definitely brought in a lot of efficiency for a lot of people. But somewhere the differentiating factor has become just a delta of change. So that's true. And my next question is pretty much in line with this as well. As an architect of Gen AI first curriculum, what were the biggest challenges that you faced in integrating AI use into your courses, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, the biggest difficulty is that you cannot just use the old or traditional or current methodology. So you cannot just do lecture tutorial anymore. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work anymore. Exams are a poor tool to measure progress with AI. And essays and reports are very poor tools to measure if the student has learned or not. So what we found is that we need to change everything. You need to really think in a very different mindset when you start teaching with AI, because it is all about the student co-creating with AI. That's what it is. And the students need to learn how to do that best. And co-creation doesn't mean just copying over from AI, because then you learn nothing. We know that. A lot of research shows that. But co-creation means that you learn a lot about how you adapt to that the Champions League pace that you need to adapt to, because all of a sudden you have AI as a accelerator on your back. But if you don't use your accelerator well, you go everywhere. You go nowhere, right? And so it's like a balloon, and you hit all the walls, and you don't go anywhere. So you only hit the accelerator well if you know how to steer the fast accelerator into the right direction. And that's what we teach our students. So it's a lot about process. It's a lot about learning how to do that, how to use tools, how to still learn, how to have also a good understanding of entrepreneurship, theory and practice, and then integrate it into your co-creation with AI. And that's what students often forget. Students think, oh yeah, no, it's now easy with AI, but that's not the case, because it is easy with AI, but it's for everyone. It's easy then, right? So because everybody has a great essay or a great report, yeah, with AI does the work. But it doesn't become easy if you have to explain how you got there, and it doesn't become easy if a good report is not good enough anymore. It has to be an excellent report or beyond excellent to be able to compete. That is for a lot of students is a struggle to get their mindset around that, because I can imagine that, right? All of a sudden you have to really step up. You go to a different level than in the past because of the accelerator that you have with AI.
Yeah, that's a great perspective on this, and it is definitely this is going to be a really challenging as well as fun at the same time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's where startups thrive, right? In
yeah,
challenging times. If there was no challenge, it was easy, and then there's no innovation. But
yeah,
startups thrive in challenging times. So no, I
yeah.
like challenging times.
Yes, yes, that is true. So, what is the kind of, given your experience in making AI use mandatory for students, what is your advice for other academics looking to incorporate Gen AI into their own teaching and learning methodologies?
Well, they need to adopt a more holistic approach. So they need to look at all the courses, and then within their programs, they need to look at what students learn and where. And that learning is not just knowledge anymore, but it is, as with a more difficult word, competency. And a competency is really knowledge and skills. So you need to learn knowledge, but then you also learn skills to apply that knowledge into the real world. And that's how academics should start thinking. And that's a real shift in mindset, because all of a sudden it's not just about your knowledge transfer and all what you know. It's also then about applying that in real world situations. And that is where we humans shine. Yeah, that's where AI still struggles. AI cannot walk around yet, not yet. Maybe
Mhm.
maybe sometime it can, but it struggles to do that, right? It struggles
Yeah,
to get into the real world, and we as humans then can do that and trend and use AI as an accelerator, as an enabler. And that is what academics must think about as well. So they need to rethink their whole curriculum. They need to rethink how they design their exercises with AI that are skill based, not just knowledge. They need to rethink how they do their assessment, which is not just the final product, one moment in time, right? You have not a midterm exam and a final exam. That's not working anymore. So you need to know where you assess across the whole 12 weeks of the semester, for example. You need to rethink how you do what you assess on, which is skill development of the individual students. And so there's a lot of things that are going to change. And we do that. And we've been doing it for the past 3 years. We learned how to do that by trial and error. And that's how startups as well get a competitive advantage, I guess. And that's what we're building now in the University of Newcastle.
yeah, yeah. I think I can imagine that in over next 5 years, the entire curriculum will be more focused towards AI, and I think it will be definitely mandatory. Now, I think it's just a starting point, and I'm sure in next few years, it's going to be an integral part of all universities. I can see that happening already.
And almost every startup as well. It's almost
Yeah,
impossible to do a
yeah,
startup without AI now. This
yeah.
is also very interesting. You
Yes,
don't
and
know whatever you
I
come
guess,
up with.
yeah, yeah, true. And I think already existing ones also have to start incorporating
And
these technologies into their systems. Otherwise, it's going
yes,
to be very challenging. Yeah.
yes. So it's a massive time of change
Yeah.
where new paradigms will start to come up,
Mm.
and we're shaping them as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. So a few things from my final question is to you is what is the kind of advice that you would like to give to any students or any budding entrepreneur who's just starting off in this landscape?
AI first. So start with AI. That's
Yeah.
the only. That is the accelerator. That is AI has the capacity to give you more efficiency in what you do, but it also
Okay.
has the capacity to completely come up with different business models or different innovations. And
Yeah.
so it does both, and that doesn't normally exist. Usually you focus on, being more efficient, like IKEA, right? Being very efficient in how you ship and produce your furniture, and then you win. It's a low cost, efficiency based model. Where others work on all kinds of new business models or new luxury goods or anything like that. That is again very different and differentiating them. Now AI can give you both, and that's kind of weird, right? That's kind of strange. So and that is something to start focusing on. How can I deliver more value for people and be more efficient? That is an interesting question, and that's what startups should ask themselves all the time right now in order to win.
That's a really interesting advice and really great advice, actually. And my final, I would like to close this interview by asking you if if anyone from our audience wants to learn a little bit more about your research or any upcoming projects that you're working on. So where can we find your work? And if somebody wants to read a few research papers that you've already worked on, so can you mention some links or any websites that we can revisit?
Yeah, we publish. I publish. There's an organization called AACSB, which is an accreditation body for business schools, and it's worldwide, it's global, and they also have a blog, and I publish on that quite a lot. So they can look for my name there, and they'll find my articles there. And we've also published on the AI for education at the Oxford University as well, and so they can look at that and find my articles there. So that's probably the easiest way to find out what we stand for and how our pedagogy works.
Thanks for your response, Bert. That brings us to the end of this episode, and we sincerely thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us. We thank all our lovely viewers and hope this episode has given them a new hope and inspiration to become a successful entrepreneur. Stay tuned for more such episodes. Have a
Yeah,
great day.
you too. Thank you, Ankita, and everybody.